Americans don't really visit Bulgaria. I mean, I guess some people do, but I've literally never met anyone else from the US who has ever been there in my entire life. So naturally, as someone with an individuality complex who is determined to be unique and to do interesting and unusual things, I booked a trip. Next thing I knew, I was on a bus to Sofia, the capital city of Bulgaria. I had never seen any pictures of Bulgaria. I had no concept of their history, very little understanding of the culture, and no idea what to expect from Bulgarian food. It was a truly blank slate. My bus pulled into Sofia Central Station, and I took my first look around. And then it started raining. Can I tell you something really embarrassing? I have a huge hole in my left sneaker. Look, I'll even show you. Can you see that? I've been putting off buying a new pair, even until literally right now as I make this video. So I've just been walking around Europe for weeks like a total doofus with a hole in my shoe everywhere I go. Anyway, it's mostly fine, except for when it rains. Luckily, restaurants exist, and so I decided that rather than go out and buy a new pair of shoes, I would spend the evening at a famous traditional Bulgarian restaurant near my hotel. That restaurant was IZBATA Tavern. My first impression was a great one. I love the colors and the woven fabrics that are everywhere. It reminded me a little of Peru in that way, which I was totally not expecting. I also loved how proactive all the servers were in suggesting meals that they thought that I would enjoy. They had me order kapama, which is this sort of mixed meat dish with rice and cabbage in a clay pot. It's pretty much a pot pie. The flavors were good. The clay pot presentation reminded me of Morocco, actually, so I was already very intrigued. We maybe have a sort of Peruvian-Moroccan mashup happening over here in Eastern Europe. I liked, but didn't love the food here. But don't worry, I had some more traditional food the next day that absolutely blew my mind. More on that in a bit. Bathed and refreshed, the weather forecast the next morning was looking good. So I joined a free walking tour and was ready to see Sofia properly. I've done tons of free walking tours elsewhere, but holy shit, I'm not kidding you when I say that probably 60 or 75 people showed up for this morning walking tour. They actually had to bring in a third tour guide in order to split up and handle all the people. Once we got started, I quickly understood why. It's an incredible tour, and with how compact the city is, many of the sites were very reachable within that 2-hour time frame. I came into this tour knowing nothing about Sofia, and I came out with a whole crash course on the vast history of the city and the country. It's a city built on onions. It's not. It's not built on onions. It's a city made up of layers, sort of like an onion. Over time, different structures have been built on top of previous structures. They actually continue to discover more of this all the time through recent archaeological excavations. My other favorite part were these fountains that spit out drinkable, warm spring water from underneath the city. I had never been anywhere before where it felt like quite so much was happening right beneath your feet, and the water tasted weird. We also got some history surrounding the city's communist past. All of it was super interesting. And to top it all off, they gave out these incredible little booklets at the end with amazing recommendations for things to do and eat within the city. I get why so many people showed up. I'm linking it below if you're interested. It's free, so I'm not making any sort of commission or anything, but if you're going to Sofia, you need to do this 100%. One recommendation that really stood out to me from the little book that they gave us on the free walking tour was MAGERNITSA. It's a restaurant serving traditional Bulgarian food, and the name means the place in the monastery where the monks cook and eat. Apparently, they've crafted their entire menu around what's eaten in monasteries around Bulgaria. It's such a cool, interesting concept that I had to go. Strong recommendations seem to be a part of the culture in Bulgaria because the server here also had plenty of suggestions for me, and I said yes to every single one. They bring bread out automatically. I love bread, big points. Also, there's oil and vinegar on the table, so now I'm feeling like I'm in Italy. Bulgaria is Peru meets Morocco meets Italy, I guess. My main course was literally just steak and potatoes, if we're being honest. And maybe it was just recommended to me because it's more expensive. Maybe, probably, I don't know. This, folks, is the picture of a man eating an actual steak while walking around with a hole in his left sneaker. This was absolutely fantastic. I'm not a steak person at all, but this is one of the best ones that I have ever had. It was followed by a dessert and a drink that are both pretty iconic. This is called MAGERNITSA. You can have it prepared a number of different ways. This particular version is pretty sweet and comes with this vanilla milky pudding on the side. It's like a dense pastry that's sort of flaky and sort of eggy. Amazing. The waitress asked if I wanted some traditional rakia to finish off the meal. I didn't know what that meant, so of course I said yes. She asked if I like sweet. I do, so she brought me the apricot version. Turns out, rakia is basically just pure alcohol. It's technically a fruit brandy. I'm curious what the other flavors are like if this was the sweet one. I felt like a pirate. Perfect meal, no notes. After I finished eating, the sun was finally out. I must be solar powered because I went full Energizer Bunny after that. Between lunch and sunset, I think I covered just about every corner of Sofia. The walking tour ended back at the famous St. Alexander Cathedral, and now that I had eaten, I was ready to see it for myself. Now I'm used to Catholic churches. Those are all over Europe and Latin America, but this was different. These sort of Orthodox cathedrals are pretty specific to this part of the world, and they're super fascinating. I had never even been into one before my visit to Greece and to Meteora a few days prior. I have a whole video about that coming super soon, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss it. The thing is, there are also amazing Catholic churches and synagogues and mosques even beyond the Orthodox cathedrals. And they're all sort of right next to each other. The city really is a great example of tolerance, and they're really proud of it, as they should be. Love that for them. I made my way to VITOSHA Boulevard, which is sort of the primary city center. It leads right to Sofia Central Park, and you can just walk for ages under the shadow of the gorgeous VITOSHA mountain, from which the boulevard gets its name. In that way, it reminded me of Cape Town, a city very much defined by the mountain that overlooks it. So I guess it's actually like Peru meets Morocco meets Italy meets South Africa. The city itself is covered in flowers and fountains, and they've really made an effort to make it a beautiful and remarkable capital city. And it is. On my way back to the hotel, after putting in a full 30,000 steps and adding at least a centimeter to the hole in the bottom of my shoe, I was ready to kick back and lounge, but I heard music playing from down the street, and I love live music, so I had to investigate. It was coming from SKAPTO Burger, and I didn't even hesitate. I just sat down and ordered a beer and a burger and some sweet potato fries and listened to these two incredible musical artists singing in like 12 different languages, Bulgarian included. It was insane. I stayed for the entire set. This, in particular, reminded me so much of home. This was such an incredible Brooklyn-esque experience. And I was having it in Sofia, Bulgaria, a full 7 time zones away from New York City. At this point, I was done with the comparisons. It's too much. Peru, Morocco, Italy, South Africa, New York. No, it's none of those places. It is a unique country and a unique capital city, and it's worthy of being described entirely as its own thing. Now, let it be said that I am not advocating for ignorance. However, visiting a country I really knew nothing about was truly a fascinating and incredible experience. I had no preconceptions. I had no ideas or expectations about what I wanted it to be or what I thought it should be. I just got to experience Bulgaria purely for what it is. And while it might have elements similar to things I've seen in other countries around the globe, it brings them together in a new way that is absolutely, uniquely, entirely its own. How are you so perfect? Oh, that's right, it's because you stayed all the way until the end. Let's do it again sometime. Like, I don't know, maybe right now? Go ahead and click here to keep the party going.